Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Train Simulator Classic TSC Railworks. Today we're taking a look at another DTM product, continuing along with our Pennsylvania Railroad DLC peaks. Of DTM's Pennsylvania stuff, I would say this is probably the best one that they put out. So this is the FA set. This would be the FA-1 that we're looking at right now. The pack will also come with the FA-2. So these locomotives were produced by Alco right about the end. The development on them, I believe, started right around the end of World War II, and this production started pretty shortly after. They were designed as freight locomotives, hence the name F for freight, and then A unit, B unit, so freight A, freight B. Later on, they got a mixed freight version, which will be a FPA for dual purpose. The dual purpose locomotives would have a steam generator put in the rear for a steam heating for passenger services and whatnot. Those are not included with the pack, so technically speaking, this is a freight only set. However, I believe there's some modifications out there on Railworks America or elsewhere for the FP series. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I'd be a liar if I said if I'd looked too much. There are tons of reskins out there because dozens of railroads bought these. It was a fairly popular, especially the dual purpose. The freight only locomotives I don't think were as popular. The dual purpose really kicked off, and the Pennsylvania Railroad themselves, they didn't buy very many of the FA-1s. They did actually buy a pretty healthy set of the FA-2s, but the FA-1s, I believe they only bought around 8 each of cab and B units. So these are not a bit of a hit and miss. We've had FAs before. For those of you that have been around for a while, I don't remember if it's like early DTM. It's kind of the same story with the GP30s. As a matter of fact, it was the same people that did the GP30. We had FAs way back when. It came in a large pack of dozen or so roads, UP, Rio Grande and such. If I remember correctly, it was the FAs. I don't believe it was the PAs, if I'm not crazy. I believe this is not an update of that model. I don't think you can get that model anymore. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, I very vaguely remember it. I didn't buy it just because I never could get past the smoke on those old models. The exhaust was literal Minecraft blocks going up in the air, and the same for the GP30s back then. But this pack is Pennsylvania only. You will only get 2 PRR models, but like I say, you can go on to Railworks America and find a dozen or so different repaints into whatever, Canadian, Union, Pacific, all sorts of stuff. But relatively popular locomotive. It saw some pretty good success. There's around 24 of them that have been preserved, mostly FP units, but a handful of FAs and FBs. Probably one of the more famous railroads that still uses a set of these is the Grand Canyon Railroad. They use a a set of FP4s, I believe, FPA and FPB4s. I know one of them is on display up at the station in Grand Canyon City, and then I think they use, if I remember correctly, they use a set for occasional use on their passenger services. And then there's also the Napa Valley wine train in, I believe, California. It uses a set of FPs. So yeah, there's a handful of them out there, a handful of them around. These were also exported, I believe, to Australia and India, if I remember correctly. So pretty popular locomotive from Alco. Now, like I said, you will get an FA-1 set, and we'll oogie boogie back here. Actually, come back here to two of them that ain't running. So you'll get an FA-1, FA-2. The biggest difference between the two is about 100 horsepower. The FA-1s, I believe, pushed out about 1,500, while the FA-2s pushed out 1,600. Alco upgraded the engines over the years. These are also very closely related to the PAs. The PA's biggest difference really being the gearing, meant for passenger services. They're also 6-axle locomotives versus 4-axle for the FAs, but so there's not a vast difference between the FA-1 and FA-2. Not one that you'll really sit down and go, absolutely, I can see the differences, because you won't find many. I mean, you got our number boards on the FA-1 versus the FA-2. Yeah. Not joking. There's really not many differences. Not enough to go, oh goodness, thank goodness we got two different locomotives, because truth be told, won't notice the difference. My opinion, you won't notice the difference. Maybe maybe you can pick it out, but me personally, especially from the top down, you can almost not see differences at all. So I'm not going to sit here and pick through all the differences between the FA-1 and 2. But there they are. You only get one paint scheme, which will be the green with the single stripe. You'll get a non-driver and a driver variant, which we got non-drivers here. And of course B units to match. And then you'll get a set of freight cars. Now, for a nice change, our freight cars are not simple copy-paste freeware from days gone by, or the same blasted content we've seen in the game for years on end. These are actually proper new freight cars, which is kind of nice. Kind of nice to see. You know, I wish this would happen more often. You know, you pay $20 for a set. I want to see, some differences, not the same blasted shit. So you will get a new caboose. In 5B, which doesn't look too terrible, but I will say the numbering is very noticeably different, as you can see. I don't know if that's because it's digitalized so that you get dynamic numbers, but it is very noticeably sharper than the Pennsylvania lettering. The striping is a completely different color of white. Our lettering down here is blurry as hell, but all in all, it doesn't look too bad. It does have an interior, which we'll look at in a second. I don't know that you get to sit in the cab though, which honest to gosh has always been one of those things that kind of frustrates the snot out of me. We get a caboose. I want interior views. Like, why bother modeling the interior if you don't get any interior views? But I think this is another one of those caboose, but where your view is out here on the back platform, which cool, but I'd like to be able to toggle through cabooses. But my rant about caboose is over. You got one caboose. You got a boxcar. I believe it's a 50-foot boxcar. Which was something that is not new per se. 50-foot boxcars we've seen some of, but this one's been freshened up a good bit. It's not terrible looking overall. It's a definite, noticeably different color in our trucks here, which is kind of entertaining. These are like covered in dust, and these are black. But the Herald, right about there. That's where it looks good. Right there, nah. You start to see where all the lines are blurred out. Yeah, the lettering is nice and crispy down here. X50, that's what these are. X-50 boxcars. The lettering down here looks pretty good. The lettering up here is blurry. Same for here. The numbers, obviously, again, are dynamic, so those are noticeably different too. Not that bad though. It's not terrible. At least it's a different boxcar. It's not the same dad blasted 40-foot that we've seen over and over and over and over. A whole new cattle car, which is, or livestock car, call it what you will. This is cool. I believe these are specific to the Pennsylvania Railroad. Again, kind of a blurry PRR that could stand to be touched up versus the number that is very noticeably crispier and a noticeably different color of white, but not bad. Not bad. I forget what this box car is called, or what this cattle car is called, but again, it's neat. Mix things up, especially for a Pennsylvania specific car. It's nice to see something meant for the Pennsy, not the same, I say it a lot, but not the same blasted shit that we see over and over and over. So it's nice. I'm not a fan of the really gleamy shininess across the whole thing, but you know, it's alright. The rivets are not, the rivets are weird. I don't know that I like them. The rivets on both these cars, they're not objects. The rivets are part of the texture board that goes on the object, but it just, I don't know. I don't like them. I really don't. They don't look right. In my opinion, they don't look right. They look weird. And if you're not gonna bother to model rivets, then frankly, I don't know why they opted to do whatever this mess is. But yeah, I don't really like the rivet details. But hooky on down. The hoppers here, nothing really special. Little short covered hoppers. These we've actually seen before, but they're not terrible. You will get 3 different versions, 2 grays with different letterings, and then a red or brown, call it whatever color you want. But Herald is blurry, lettering is blurry, number is very obviously crispier than the lettering, which I don't get. These big giant letters here are blurry as balls, but the smaller stuff down here is actually not bad. This actually looks pretty decent down here. This, not so much, but you know, whatever. And this down here is a noticeably different color of white than this up here. And even this. So, well, deadly poisons. Don't touch it. I'll touch it if I wanna. And again, with these weird rivets, it just, yeah, I don't like them. Not sold on them. And of course, we get the gray, which pretty much the same complaints, or same noticeable issues, I would say. Just blurry lettering, blurry herald for the big stuff, but the small stuff actually looks good. So I don't quite get that, but, you know, oh well. And we'll get a bunch of different flat cars with or same flat car, bunch of different loads. So a lumber load, you know, it's that same lumber load we've seen before. That passable. Flat car is, I would say, the worst of the lot as far as how well it's modeled. It kind of looks pitiful, to say the least. It looks like a flat object. And there's not a lot going on with flat cars, I get, but I don't know, it just kind of looks like early trains era modeling, to put it nicely. Like what's our coupler lever coupled to? A whole lot of nada. So I would say, if you're gonna take the time to do cars, do, you know, 3 or 4 of them, go with the Locomotive, and take the time to do them right. People like me notice dumb shit like that, where, you know, these poles, where do they go? Nowhere. They're just floating there. Pitiful. Don't get me started on that. So again, letters blurry as balls, numbers crispy as can be. No real weathering, just It's legit just a rectangle with textures applied over it, so nothing really fancy. Lumber load, pipes, and our boxcar again. We'll hop back over here. And we get a military train. We get some Willie Jeeps and some Sherman tanks. Oh Lord. Our chains don't connect to anything. They got a lot of faith that these tires are just gonna sit here. The Jeep object actually doesn't look terrible. It needs some color. Black steel, like dumb stuff, I know. I don't care. I'm not looking at it. Well, I am. If you're gonna take the time to do it right at least. The whole object's just green. The whole object's just green. Our Sherman tanks here. Oh Lord. For those of you that play War Thunder and remember the balloons, the inflatable tanks. Yeah. That's what that reminds me of, the inflatable tanks from War Thunder. Oh Lord. Yeah. To say I don't use these very often would be an understatement. And again, are changed. Don't know what they connect to. Don't know what they're mounted to. And yeah, those are ugly. Good Lord, those are ugly. Their chain game sucks. Machine rail, please come fix. But yeah, the flat cars are easily the worst looking of the lot. But man, you know, at least they're different. They're not the same 40-foot flat car we've seen over and over and over and over and over. It's long dead and burned out. And of course, back to the locomotives. It's got them wonky brakes, smoke box style brakes. I don't rightfully remember just how old this is. Scroll through my notes here. Oh, do. That's okay, Notepad. I didn't need you to work today. Do. Yeah, I don't think it was all that long ago that these were released. 2019, yeah. So these are not old per se. But the idea of the FA is not new either. Is it bad? Nah. Texture-wise... Whoops. The textures are not too bad. Again, flat rivets. Honest to gosh, this is one time that the idle does not sound half bad. His idle sounds are pretty decent. They got a nice chug to them. These locomotives chug. They prattle and chug, which is entertaining, as can be almost like an old muscle car, but numbers, crispy. Letters, actually not that bad. Letters are actually better than what they are on the cars. Nothing real fancy back here. No real differences. The B units don't have the train phone across the top. Something that's unique with the Pennsylvania railroads, the train phones, these antennas across the top. But overall, it doesn't look terrible. I'm kind of irked about the flat rivets. That's just me though, and I can already tell you this door is not going to be a separate object. It's just going to be a 3D. Yeah. The door is nothing different. It's part of the texture board. The headlight. The marker light lens and the headlight lens are the same exact texture, shrunk down. See those little dots there? Boom, boom. Not bad. Not terrible. Yeah. That's the killer for me. The flat rivets. The flat objects that are supposed to be not flat. But unlike all the bald ones, I actually have dirty exhausts, which is nice. Exhaust fans that don't spin. Let's hop inside. Ooh, I haven't used these in a while. Ugh. Interior, not so good. I don't know what this color would be, but ugh. It looks horrible. That color looks so bad. And then of course the same freaking mesh that we've seen since the early Kuju SD40. Absolutely nothing has changed up here. It's the same damn thing that's been in the game for years and desperately needs to be thrown in the trash. It's just, God, that's horrible. If you're, this close to it, at least take the time to come on. That's ugly as balls. And this, that's hideous. That, I imagine, is to represent kind of a shadowy, but I don't think it looks that great. This looks miserably bad. The color overall is just ugh. I don't know what they were shooting for. Dirty aluminum? Anywho, typical DTM stuff. You can open the window, or open the doors, windows and stuff. Makes no sound opening. Closing sounds entertaining. Okay. Windows up, down, both sides. Got our little, got our air conditioner windows. And you gotta roll the windows down like a car. Or old car, I should say. Some of us aren't so sophisticated. We still have to roll our windows up and down. Our gauges are starkly different than the background. Ugh. The gauges actually don't look half bad until you zoom in on them and you see how blurry that is, but these have been around for forever. Speedometer. Now I'm curious. Something I don't ever think to point out, but all too often the speedometer gauge never matches the actual speed in game. It is so stinking rare to see that matched up. It's almost sad that that's been around for so long, but we'll look at it this time. I never think about it until after the fact, but 9 times out of 10, the speedometer here does not match your HUD up here. This will say like 15 miles an hour, your gauge still hasn't got above 10. But we'll look at that in a little while after we get on the road. Number boards, class lights, wipers. Ew. There's not even a notch here for that to actually go through. Not a fan of the wiper sound. I could frankly do away with the wiper sound altogether if that's the case. Gauge lights. Typical DTM gauges. Identical gauge lights. They pop up in the same spot. They're not horrible. They're not great. I think they're overly bright. Cab light. Our frame rates drop. Looking out the window, we got 108. 130. 128. Yeah. Cab lights are going to take a whack. As pretty normal. And the cab lights kind of show off how horrible this looks. This color is so bad. So we'll just leave that off. Can't fiddle with that. Headlights. Bright, mid, dim. Outside! Ugh. I already knew that they were going to be ugly, but ugh. As is typical everything fashion nowadays. It's a bright white LED headlight that didn't exist back in 1945, but, you know, here we are. God, that's gross. I want to know who started this trend of sticking bright white LED headlights on all of their models. They need to get knocked out, but I'm kidding. Please don't actually go out and knock somebody, but seriously, whichever one of you jack-offs that started this mess, please delete your files. Because that's... I have never, not one time, seen an antique diesel locomotive this old that's got bright white LEDs. Matter of fact, I don't see trains hardly ever that've got bright white headlights. You can see a SD70 go by today and it's probably not that bright white. It's probably a nice orange. So I don't... Ugh. The flare... I don't like any of this. I don't like it. Don't like it. Don't like the headlights. But that's pretty much expected these days. Number boards, they don't look too bad. They look like there's some little individual bulbs behind there. Markers, markers are shrunk down headlight. God, that is ugly. That is so ugly. U-key changes marker light colors, green, white, red. Should be shift U to change them back the other direction. Turn that off. Mid. See, the mid doesn't look half bad. I still don't like the flare. I still don't like the fact that it's white. I don't know what this blossom is as you get further away, but that is gross. But the mid color, the mid, like, up close, not too bad. Still shouldn't be white. Dim. Really not a huge difference between dim and mid. Anything we can play with back here. Engine start, stop. Radiator fan. We'll play with that in a minute. Every single time I ever touch this knob, I can turn it one way and not the other. So, like I said, we'll play with that in a second. Start up, stop. How about that black smoke? That sounded like somebody dropping something down metal stairs in an enclosed area. Not too big on that. Start it. Yeah, you guys kind of hear that echoey, the echoing sound. That's weird. I don't like the smoke effects. That little puff, puff, puff. This isn't a steam locomotive. But, yeah. Not sold on the start stop, so start a radiator fan on. Oh god. Stepping on some nuts. But radiator fan does start to spin on everything. Yeah. Not vastly noticeable. You know, you won't really notice it all that much, but it is a nice little detail to add in. Kinda got a modeled engine in here. It's, you know, cool, I guess. It's not something you really see outside of being at a weird angle, so that these fins here showing off. You can kind of see through the grating. But, automatic. Oh, wow. Nope, there it goes. So it like hits a spot, and then it just, you can't touch it anymore. It won't go either direction. So that's nice. It's still on though. So let's set up our track so that we can get out on the road. We are on the Bedford Junction branch, which is a workshop route, a very decent workshop route. I do recommend checking it out if you like this sort of stuff. Let's see, should be our reverse, our selector switch, which is, yeah. Our selector is over here in the back. There's no real way to look at it and see it, which is kind of irritating, but kind of the opinion, like, why bother sticking it back here? They got one off and B. And the stuff that everybody's probably waiting on. The sanders. I'm kidding, I know what you guys are waiting on. You want the bell and whistle, but sanders, no sound. No sand. Again, like the, what did I do the video on last? At, the RF-16. There's no sand pipes. We got a sander and no sand pipes. I know, it's a stupid little thing to point out, but it's hard to put sand out if you ain't got pipes. Go down to your wheels. No sand pipes. So. Oh. Yeah. Train brakes. Locomotive brakes. There it is. Switch noise isn't terrible. I don't like that. The weird clicking just because it's spring-loaded going backwards. Brake release. Bell? Bell. Typical DTM bell. Nothing special. It's long overused. Overdue to be thrown away now. Same bell. Horn. Horn's not terrible. It's way too quiet though. Like, it sounds louder right here. Right here. It sounds laughably quieter. The horn sounds not bad. It's just the volumes are weird. And you can't hear it at all right here. Like, I should definitely still be able to hear it just fine right here. Matter of fact, I should be able to hear it at this crossing right here. I should be able to hear that. Can't hear it at all. Let's see. Holy crap. Oh, interesting. Where does the sounds... Yeah, right about there. Yeah, so the air horn disappears right about there. That is horrible. That is beyond horrible. The sound is not bad, but A, I should be able to hear it way down there. B, its volume is wrong. And it doesn't have an ending loop for the short horn. Now, I will say, at least it's got the short horn. This is not the first time we've heard this horn sound before, and if I remember right, it's also on the DL109s, I believe, and they've got that long drawn out loop. You can't even do a short whistle, so at least you can do a short this time, but there's no ending loop at all. There's no ending sound. It just kicks off. But the horn sound, not too bad. Just the fact that you can't hear it past 10 feet. So, first notch starts chugging a little bit. Some weird popping in the audio stitching. You can hear that noticeable pop pop. Yeah, I can't stand that headlight. I won't be able to get past that. I can't stand that headlight. That age-old thing, wide open throttle. The squealing. At every little curve. I've never been a big fan of it. Just, yeah. The second you start to turn, and it squeals the whole way through, it's just a constant screw. Oh! You know what? You're right. Engine sounds are stupid. Engine sounds? We're definitely still picking up speed. We're definitely still under power. Uh-huh. Hey! There's a rolling noise with this rolling stock. It's not just a standard wind going by. That's not bad. Hey, we got sound again. I don't know what that was interesting. Just silently cruising along. While I'm thinking about it. Hey, we got a view up in a couple of. Can't see over nothing because the couple is too short. See, this is what you should have for caboose views. You should be able to swap through. Like, I'm okay with having a view out here on the platform, but you should be able to swap through like this. So, that's not bad. Let's see if the audio disappears again. By the way, when I'm thinking about it, what's the speed limit? 40? 40. Hey, you can't hear the horn almost at all over that. Huh? Let's hop down here for a second. Have a run by, see what it sounds like. Right about, here. Right here with our... I don't know what this is. I was going to say an F-150, but, yeah, I don't... That looks wrong. Yeah, the audio just cuts out like way too early. I'm pushing on the horn right now, you can't hear the horn. Locomotive audio is at like a 10-foot radius and that's it. Ah, there he goes again. You gotta drop it all the way down to idle before the sound comes back. What the? So notch 25 doesn't have a sound, or 25%. What are we on? Notch 2? Into the cab, out of the cab. Now we got sound. Wow. Bro, this has been out since 2019 and that bug hasn't been fixed? That's impressive. Sad part is this is one of DTM's best Pennsylvania models so far, next to the RF-16s. Alright. Well. Color me impressed. And yeah, that's squealing. It's just constant. It's not, you know, the occasional squeak, squeal, creak, crunch. Nah, it's just squeak. I've never liked that. I never liked it when they implemented it, and I still don't like it. It gets extraordinarily annoying. Wouldn't bother me if it just kind of kicked on and kicked off to make it sound like the flange is hitting and rocking back and forth, but nah. Instead it sounds like they slam and then they keep squealing the whole way around. Our audio's opted to keep working now? Interesting. Oh well. Let's bring it to a stop. Train brake. Got a little setup here. Not terrible. What about there? Ugh. Brake's not bad. We're just gradually braking here, gradually adding a little bit more. It's not bad. No immediate, you know, screeching halt. So I actually don't hate the braking. Can I come back and touch my radiator fan? Nope. Sure can't. That's your emergency brake for your conductor there. So yeah, braking is not bad. There's no sound of. There's no sound of brakes being applied. There's no brake. There's no air sound whatsoever. So it's kind of entertaining. No sound for a headlight switch too. Oh shoot, I forgot to look at the throttle. Oh well. Or while I look at our speed. And stupid PCS. There it goes. You know what? While I'm thinking about it, we'll look at that. Let our brakes release. Last thing. We'll just check and see if our gauge matches our numbers up here. You really don't hear it rev up much inside the cab. Not till you hit 8 there. Yeah, it actually matches up pretty decently so far. 15, 15. It hit 20. Let's see if it hits 20. Yeah, what do you know? Speedometer that matches our HUD. That's a rarity. I know some of the I think it's the U30, U33 I think. The speedometer will say one thing and your HUD will be like a good 10-mile-an-hour difference. That's pretty ridiculously noticeable, but different story, different DLC. So wow, our speedometer matches our HUD. That's a rare sight. But anywho, fellas, that'd be the DTM Alco FA for the Pennsylvania Railroad. Available on Steam, I believe, for $20. Is it worth it? I bought it on a sale. I personally don't believe in paying full price for anything for Train Simulator at this point, but it's really up to you. Is it worth the $20? Yeah, I don't know. Is it bad? Nah. Is it great? Nah. It's got some noticeable sound issues, as we saw in the cab. Oof. But it's not terrible. Certainly one of the best from DTM. So yeah, go check it out on Steam. I will see you guys next time.